Dr. Sethi, can you join us, please, for the session?
I'm Dr. Shiv Kumar here from Apollo Secunderabad.
Shiv Kumar, we have hello and good evening, and we have with me Dr. Jivani and Dr. Sethi, who would be moderating the case which you would like to show from the Polo Group. Please go ahead, tell us what the case is all about.
Yeah, hi Ajit and hi Dr. Jivani.
Hi.
Good evening, Dr. Sethi sir. Of course, it's almost like fag end of the day, and of course, but it's a high adrenaline case. As Sir has already briefed in his lecture that the left main, and we are dealing with a distal left main, that is a bifurcation left main. Incidentally, we had a very hectic day today. In the morning, we did 2 left mains and few primaries also. So it will really test my nerves today in the evening. So without wasting much time, I will go to the straight to the case history, and then I'll show you the angio film. The history, please.
Very good evening. Welcome to the members of the faculty, colleagues, and my dear friends. The first slide, please. We have a 67-year-old gentleman who presented to us, who was an ex-smoker, hypertensive, and a non-diabetic, who presented to us with a history of chest pain for 1 hour duration associated with sweating. And he also has a history of recent onset hyperangina class 2 for past 2 months. On presentation in ECG, he had a ST depressions in 1 AVL VT2 V6 with an elevation in AVR. And his echo showed a fair LV systolic function with an EF of 50%, mild MR, mild AR, and moderate TR with mild PAH. Past history, he is a known case of CKD on hemodialysis for past 8 months. He had an history of old CVA, and he recovered, which was in 2010. And he was diagnosed with pituitary adenoma, which was resected in 2007. And is also a known case of COPD on regular treatment for exacerbations. His biochemical parameters, his TROPA is positive, his hemoglobin is 9.1, creatinine 3.6 on thrice weekly hemodialysis for past 3 months, urea 85, and electrolytes are in normal limits. So, going for the angiogram.
Okay, that was a history of the patient, and can you see the angio now there?
Shiv Kumar, we can't see the angiogram. Can you... We have lost contact.
Yeah.
Yep. Can we see the angiogram, Shiv Kumar?
Yeah, 1 second.
We can see you, but not the angiogram.
I need an angio there. Arun, I think it's not the last one. Is it the last one?
Shiv Kumar, I think what you can do is either show the camera on the angiogram or show the out from the angiogram.
Yeah, actually they have
Yeah, we can see that now. Good.
Yeah, okay, now you can see. Fine. So this is a layer caudal view, and you can see the distal left main right from the shaft of the left main to the bifurcation. There's a disease there, and incidentally, the next view, please. Incidentally, the circumflex doesn't look disease at all, and then most of the circumflex looks normal, and the epicranial view. And you can see the rest of the LAD is also fairly normal. So primarily it is the left main bifurcation involving from left main to LAD and the view. And the circumflex seems to be largely normal, and with the ostium being free, and rest of the circumflex also looks normal. So we went ahead. What do you feel about it? Like, what the panel says about it?
Well, there seems to be a left main bifurcation stenosis. We can't be very sure how critical it looks from here. there seems to be an LAD disease. And Shivkumar, what is the right? Right is normal?
Yeah, right is normal. It's a right dominant artery, and it was absolutely normal.
Yeah, Shivkumar, do you have any other views to show that left main is really tight? Because whatever views you have shown doesn't appear to be very significant.
Exactly. So, as Dr. Sethi sir has told that generally then in the left main, this is the major problem that, intra-observer differences would be huge. Yeah. And even I believed it at the first instance when I saw that probably the left main didn't look that significant. And so we went ahead with an FFR and the IVUS, and I would show you the run of FFR.
Okay.
So Shivkumar, are you planning to do an imaging mode or FFR, functional flow reserve?
We did both.
Okay, both. Good.
Yeah. Okay, so this is an FFR wire which we put it, and then we'll show you the FFR value there. Can you please have a run of the FFR, please? Can you see the FFR there?
Yeah, can you swap the pictures so that the FFR looks bigger?
Yeah, it looks
Swap
very...
the picture of FFR.
Can you enlarge that FFR screen?
Around, increase the FFR.
Yeah, that's good.
0.74.
Yeah, can you see now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, you can see the 0.74 is the value there of the FFR.
This is pre-adenosine or post-adenosine?
No, post-adenosine. Pre-adenosine, it was about 80.80, and of course, we can again have a discussion of it because basically we did an intravenous adenosine here, not the intracoronary, because it's being recommended in left mains to do an intravenous adenosine. So we gave 140 micrograms per minute for 2 minutes, and after that we did this FFR, and this was the value, the post-adenosine.
Yeah, I think it's recommended to give intravenous through a femoral vein, and I think that you have got significant ischemia, less than 0.75, anyway with 140 micrograms at 2 minutes. So technically, the left main lesion looks significant in terms of the FFR testing.
Yeah, this FFR wire is in LAD or SERP?
Is in LAD, okay.
Is in LAD, and LAD there is no disease, you said, is
yes,
it?
It's basically mid-LAD has got some slight disease, but otherwise not significant disease at all. And the FFR wire didn't go below the whatever the disease segment you can see. Show the FFR wire please there. Yeah. You can see that the probe is much above the disease segment, if at all, even if you think the diagonal level if there is a disease. Okay?
Okay, and so let's see the IVUS.
Yes. So after doing the FFR, we went ahead with an IVUS frame. Okay? The next slide. So this is an IVUS catheter. We placed it at the septal 1, the first septal level, and we'll show you the IVUS run there. You can see that right from the mid-LAD, the proximal LAD, the IVUS is coming back, and there's a little bit of there's a large plaque burden in the LAD, although the LAD angiographically doesn't look that much diseased. And there is a little bit of a calcification right into the 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock position, and there it is, the circumflex is arising there now. Yeah, no, run the IVUS please. Okay, that's the point where and now we are getting into, this is the point where the distal left main and the bifurcation is coming. And you can see the amount of the plaque burden there, and it's highly thickly, there is a slight amount of calcification, not much of it. Now we are coming to the left main, and this is in the ostium and the proximal part of the left main.
Can you ask them to freeze the tightest part of the left main and make some...
we'll show you this. Yeah, we'll show you that. Okay, this is the distal left main part. Okay, where it was the tightest part, and it's coming to about 3.58, 3.59. Yeah, 3.59 is a
So basically, area less than 4.8 is sort of significant in the left main.
Yeah, although there are some people who say even the 6 millimeters can be, below 6 millimeters can be indicated as, but I do agree that 4.5 or 4.5 should be taken as a cutoff for the left main. It's coming at a 3.59 at the distal left main bifurcation, where the circumflex is arising. And
so you think you have left main distal disease, which is significant, and you don't think there is ostial left main disease.
That's right.
Do you think there is ostial LAD disease?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And
Definitely.
what about the circumflex? Did you image from the circumflex to the left main ship?
Unfortunately, I didn't do an IVUS there. I did an FFR. FFR was more or less coming the same thing actually. Okay.
No, can you repeat that? You said you did FFR by putting wire in circumflex?
As well.
And what value did it show?
It was coming to the same thing for about 0.78. There was nothing in the distal circ, but when because we were in, that is the reason, another reason that we did an intravenous FFR, the FFR, and because we did a slow pullback also, and the values were about 76 or 77 with the, when the wire was put into the circumflex.
If the disease in left main is significant, it doesn't matter where you put FFR wire, LED or
Correct.
circ, it will show the same value.
True. We just wanted to rule out the ostial circumflex disease, and that's the
But
reason.
that's what point I'm trying to make. It will be difficult to assess the ostial circumflex when there is already distal left main. It will be
Correct.
very difficult.
Absolutely. But since the subsequent IVUS was also showing the circumflex ostium was normally was clear, so that's the reason we didn't go ahead with the ostium, the circumflex IVUS.
There is a small point that I would like to make here. You know, when you have the IVUS inside and when you withdraw from the LAD to the left main, the ostium of the left circumflex is actually at an angle. So what you many times get is an oval picture of the ostium of the left circumflex. And when you actually get into the circumflex, you find that the diameter is much less than what you thought when you looked at the ostium when you are imaging from the LAD to the left circumflex. So in this patient, I mean, I would not be surprised if you find disease in the left circumflex, because to me, the ostium of the left circumflex does not appear to be absolutely normal.
Okay, Shiv, what is your plan now? You got distal left main disease and some LAD disease. You think that the circ is fine, and you thought that the left main is about 5. Is that what you feel? Is the diameter of the left main?
Yeah, so basically we are thinking to go with the one stent strategy here, because the circumflex is not more than 2.5 millimeters and relatively a free disease-free artery in circumflex. So we don't want to commit for the 2 stents right at the beginning. The provisional stent strategy, the plan is to stent right from the mid shaft of the left main into the LAD, and after that we'll see that depending on the flow into the circumflex, either we'll do a crossover and then we'll think about whether if there is a pinching. Probably we'll do a final kissing balloon and come out with that.
Okay. You don't plan any, there doesn't seem to be any big calcium, and it all looks like superficial calcium.
Exactly.
So you are not going to debulk in any form?
No, we didn't plan of the debulking at this stage. And again, the debulking is, again, since in the era of drug-eluting stents, we can keep debating whether it's really debulking is really going to help us here, because the entry of the stent would be possible. That's what I'm thinking. And so we didn't think about the debulking here. Okay.
So what balloon are you using to?
Yeah, basically 2.512, the Sprinter balloon, and we are dilating the distal left main here. Are you please a little? Double main. Okay, dilate. Okay. The lesion looks like a soft lesion because we didn't have much of resistance there. And then
But here the circumflex angle doesn't look
taut.
very, it looks little acute, and there is very high chance of pinching the circumflex when you
I
stand
totally
from-
agree with you. The circumflex angle is really nasty angle there.
Yes.
And I might have a problem when for the recrossing there, because if it gets pinched, there will be a trouble there. I totally agree.
As Dr. Sethi said, we may be underestimating the ostial circumflex lesion.
Okay, so that's the panel thing that we should go with some different strategy.
Can I ask Dr. Sethi, do you think this left main requires intervention?
Yes, it does, based on the FFR and the IVUS findings.
You mean that left main is responsible for resting ECG changes with ST elevations in AVR?
Well, we're not sure, Dr. Raju, what happened at that point of time. Maybe there was some soft thrombus at that point of time.
I have a serious difficulty in correlating all these things together. The pictures shown and the FFR and all that, I have serious difficulty.
Yep. Well, as far as the FFR is concerned now in left main CAD, if the FFR has been done anything less than 0.8 and definitely 0.75 is significant. And in terms of left main area, anything below 4.8, recent Parkes data suggests that if there is left main disease, it correlates to an FFR of 0.75. So with that sort of data, you know, with these two imaging modalities, maybe treating that left main, I agree that it doesn't look tight enough to create the ST change which you saw. Well, unless there was something acute coronary syndrome which happened, which is treated with medical treatment and settled down. I'm not sure. But
the 2.5 millimeter balloon doesn't have a waist.
Yeah. Well, I know, you know, the criticality of the disease in terms of ACS is a little doubtful. I agree.
Visually, it does not look
Very tight.
Yeah, that's what the first comment we made. Do you have any views to show that it is really tight? But then FFR is 0.74, so that cannot be questioned.
The FFR machine needs treatment, not left main.
Well, I think there are certain issues with FFR and left main, and I think that's a good question to be answered. Left main and acute myocardial infarction are two areas where FFR still has some issues. And but this area, the LAD is a large vessel, and there is no stenosis in the proximal LAD, both by angiography and IVUS. So I think that FFR data may be reasonably strong enough. So I think I would go by that FFR data. But whether the acute coronary syndrome took place because of the left main, what happened at the left main area during is, I'm not so sure yet.
Then we also need to know what was the time interval between acute coronary syndrome and the angiogram. That also we probably...
It was more than 3 weeks.
Huh?
Yeah, it was more than 3 weeks.
Is more than 3 weeks, so probably block remodeling, and then that is the discrepancy probably responsible.
Okay, so yeah, so what Shivkumar, you have implanted a what stent at what length at what atmosphere?
Yeah, basically I have taken a 3.523, the Zynes Prime stent, and deployed it because the left main looked like a foam. So I will do a pot at the proximal part of with a 4 balloon, and the distal, because we covered that area where the disease segment was there by IVUS, and so that's the reason we have taken a 3.523 the Zynes Prime stent.
What was the diameter of the left main on the intravascular ultrasound? It looks quite a large left main.
Yeah, Shivkumar.
Yeah.
Are you with us? What was the diameter of left main on IVUS?
In the critical, the tightest most part was 3.5.
No.
And the reference diameter was about 4.8. The proximal where the disease segment was not there. That was the point, was 4.8. I do agree, and 3.5 I have taken because I am putting the stent into the LAD as well. So we can do it because this is a Zynes stent which can easily be dilated, increase up to almost by 1 millimeter. So 3.5 can go up to 4.5 if I take a bigger balloon. So with that view I have gone with this 3.523.
What is the diameter of the LAD on the intravascular ultrasound?
It was coming around 2.75 to 3, sir. 2.75.
It looks much larger than that, at least by angiogram.
Okay, just go to the hello caudal view and do a ray crossover. So what do you think about the circumflex? Do you think, should I do a crossover or what do you?
Well, I think we need to take some more pictures, give some nitroglycerin. I wouldn't jump into a crossover till I'm absolutely sure that circ is reasonably pinched, because we know that 2-stent strategy is not as good as 1-stent strategy, and you'd like to leave it at 1 stent if you're not damn sure about the whole thing. You know, you could do a couple of things. One is give some nitroglycerin, take some pictures.
Yeah.
And if you're still doubtful, use the FFR wire now to show whether that is significant or not. Because now they fix the left main, then the circ should not have, you know.
There's some amount of pinching there at the proximal, the ostium of the circ, but TIMI flow is good. It looks like a TIMI 3 flow there.
Yeah, that vessel circumflex doesn't look very big vessel. It is just looks like
Small,
hardly 2 millimeter vessel. Yeah.
Yes.
trying to do something there will probably worsen it. So this FFR is a good idea if you do FFR to circumflex now.
But if I need to do an FFR circumflex, I need to do a crossover.
Yeah, yes.
The panel, I just want to know, I believe the creatinine of the patient is 3.5.
Your patient is on dialysis, sir.
Patient is on dialysis.
Good, he will require more actually.
It's Shiv Kumar. We have crossed our time here, so we will go to the lecture and get back to you if you want to show us something more after the lecture. Is that okay with you, Shiv?
Fine. We will do one thing is I'll do a crossover, do a FFR there, and probably I'll show you the results of FFR.
Are you planning to do IVUS also post-stenting?
Exactly. That is also the plan is there.
I think the first thing we need to is to post-dilate the stent and get that stent up. Yeah.
Looks like requires more dilatation.
Okay, thank you, Shiv, for a nice case demonstration.